Hey everyone, I'm Scott Cunningham, aka Scottsy Business, and today we're here with Jonathan Chester, who is the co-founder and CEO at BitWage. And it is a very, very cool concept where you essentially are going to get paid in Bitcoin rather than what you would normally get paid in, so that people can really start to get out of the fiat system and, have your money just inflating away, and you can get into something a lot more, a better store of value, so to speak. So before we get into that, can you just share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me, Scott. A little bit about myself. I got into the cryptocurrency industry back in 2013.
Okay.
So this is, I guess, my third cycle that I've been through. The fun thing I like to tell people is when I was getting in, I thought I was late to the game. Back in 2013, I thought, oh wow, Bitcoin's way past $1 now. I'm kind of late, but I still believed in it. What I was doing, I was working at Oracle doing sales over there, and I decided, I want to learn more about what's happening in the world, the new technologies that exist. I came across actually a TED Talk about the future of money, and in that TED Talk, someone was talking about Bitcoin. And I very quickly became obsessed. I was liking things like financial sovereignty, banking the unbanked, and doing cross-border payments, faster, cheaper payments using crypto. So using Bitcoin, really. And went down the rabbit hole, learned as much as I could. A month later, I was this obsessed Bitcoin guy at Oracle, and I got connected with another obsessed Bitcoin guy, and we decided, well, if Bitcoin's going to be the future, we got to be part of that. We got to do something there. And we looked at what existed. And what existed was that there were exchanges, there were wallets, there were merchant processors, but there was really no way for companies that then received Bitcoin to be able to then spend that Bitcoin. There was no way to have a full closed loop financial system within Bitcoin. So we decided, okay, let's do this. Let's be the first people to do this. Let's enable the financial loop within Bitcoin. And that's why we decided to do payroll. And we came out in 2014. We were full time on the project, and you could say the rest is history there.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. For so many people, they're struggling to get into Bitcoin now because it's such a high price. I mean, obviously you can buy any amount, but a lot of people are really daunted by that. So I always say the best way to get in is to, earn it, whether that's like via social media platforms that give out rewards or, whatever it happens to be. But the easiest way is to get paid by your employer via Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies. So is BitWage just for Bitcoin, or does it cover multiple cryptocurrencies?
Sure. Yeah. So Bitcoin is the most used cryptocurrency on our platform. We also have a lot of stable coins as well. And the reason for stable coins is we actually have a significant international business where people are actually exporting goods or services from outside of the US, like a freelancer or software developer exporting from like Brazil or Argentina to the US. And then they'll get paid, and instead of getting their local currency, maybe they're not quite ready to swallow the orange pill Bitcoin. They'll take stable coins, right?
Yeah.
We do also offer a few other cryptocurrencies on the platform as well, and those are popular in the U.S. and in Europe. But our two most popular cryptocurrencies are Bitcoin and stablecoins.
Awesome. And do you find that most people really just go into Bitcoin, or is there a bit of a transition period, or what does that usually look like?
So I think that the way that people tend to do this is they sign up, they set it up, and then they never think about it again, right? A lot of our users, especially the ones in like the US and Europe and UK, like what they want to do is they want to sign up, they want to set their percentage, and they don't want to think about it, right? The typical use case is they get 5, 10, 15% of their wage in Bitcoin, maybe $1,000 a month, something like that. And their dollar cost averaging their buys in. They're doing small, what they kind of consider to be small buys over time, so they don't have to worry about the volatility. I mean,
Hmm.
I can be guilty of looking at the price and being like, I want more Bitcoin, but I'm afraid of buying in it going down 20% tomorrow. But I still
Hmm.
get 15% of my wage in Bitcoin. And so even if I'm afraid to do that, I know that I'm accumulating it over time and that I'm hedging against essentially the global inflation that's occurring in every single country in the world right now.
Yeah.
And and this is really the use cases that we see today is I don't want to think about whether or not I'm getting the right price. I just know that I want to be a part of this, and I don't want it to I don't want to think about the volatility. I don't want to think about the anything difficult. I just want it easy, and I don't want to think about it at all.
Yeah, yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, and I personally do dollar cost averaging versus lump sum investing. So was that kind of the focus? Like you wanted to get people into that safer way of investing, like, and is that your personal investing philosophy? You prefer the dollar cost averaging way, or what is your take on that?
I do both, right? So I do, like I said, a percentage of my wage in Bitcoin, but then I still have the other parts in dollars, and I actually do use that to buy more Bitcoin, according to my personal trading strategies, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but in general, I think that you for a newcomer, it can be so daunting that it's really the goal is to make it simple and easy to get the appreciation, and that's what we're really going for here. Is we don't want the complications of exchanges to get in the way of a newcomer coming in. And of course, when we work with your employer, um, you have a level of trust with your employer that they've done the due diligence so that you don't have to figure out the wallets, the exchanges, or anything like that. It is worth noting that we have two products, and they're about 50% each in terms of the business for us. One is where companies sign up and offer the solution to their employees, and the other is when the workers sign up and we give them deposit bank accounts in the U.S., the EU, or the U.K., and then they can receive money from any company that's paying them into those accounts. So both,
oh,
if
okay.
you're a worker or a freelancer, you can use us without your company signing up, or the company signing up can use us.
Perfect, perfect. So how do people get started? Like if someone was very, very new and they wanted to get started with BitWage today, what do they need to do?
Sure. If you just go to www.bitwage.com, right, and you hit sign up, and you go through a KYC process. Right now, you actually need to get a wallet from off the platform. We don't have a custody at all. So you find a wallet and plug it into our system. What's going to be going live in the coming months is we're actually going to have a sort of a recommended wallet solution where you never have to deal with the public keys. You just download a mobile wallet app and you scan QR code and it comes in. So that's going to make it even easier for people. And the cool thing is not only is it going to be easy, but you're going to be in control of your private keys when you do this. So we're inadvertently teaching people how to be in control of their own money.
Yeah, yeah, which is so important, especially with like services like PayPal coming on and they're not giving people access to their keys when they buy Bitcoin or, fiat exchanges like Robinhood, for example. So I think that is definitely a very, very important thing, especially for newcomers who really just aren't going to go that far into it to know exactly what they need to do. So I think that's really great that you guys are tackling that like early on. So what exactly does Bitwage set out to solve specifically?
Yeah, so there are several problems that we solve. You can think of our product having three, four different use cases. One is kind of an investor dollar cost average use case that we're talking about, which is really creating the simplest, easiest way for you to accumulate Bitcoin and essentially grow your savings account, right? The goal here is have at least a portion of your savings account in Bitcoin. In the future, I mean, everyone's going to have Bitcoin in their savings account, so it's better to do it now and start early. And as we all know, when the way that you get money into your savings account today is through your paycheck. You don't have to get your money and then convert it into something else and then deposit it into a third party system. You just have your direct deposit shoot the money into your account, and that's the design of this. That it's just super easy to do. You don't have to think about it. Another use case is a cross-border use case. A lot of people who are exporting goods or services to the US or the EU or the UK get access to terrible payment systems, right? Bank transfer can pay them and they'll lose up to 10%. It can take sometimes 2 weeks or longer for the money to hit. So instead, we work with Bitcoin and stable coins so that people can get the money same to next day in their wallets, but also into their bank accounts. We have solutions where the funds actually convert into and out of Bitcoin and then deposit local currency into your account, sometimes same day. If all the banks are open and banking hours work, we can do same day from the US into your accounts and get access to some of the best exchange rates in the world. So that's the second use case. The third use case is there are a lot of companies that actually work in crypto, and they most of their business, their revenues generated in Bitcoin or other cryptocurrency, and they'll come to us and maybe they'll have banking issues and they'll actually use us to fund payrolls or invoices to vendors or wages to freelancers. They'll fund it with Bitcoin or whatever crypto. And then the people who are receiving the money get to choose whether they want Bitcoin, stablecoin, local currency into their bank account. So there's a solution there for them. And then the last use case is we have a Bitcoin 401k, which essentially allows you to trade without any tax implications on your trades. You get to trade Bitcoin. So right now we have a solo 401k that that links directly into Gemini, so you have the ability to trade on Gemini, and we also have a beta for companies that are offering it to their employees, the 401k solution.
Awesome. Yeah, I think the 401k is very interesting. Is that a newer feature or was that always in there?
No, it's brand. I shouldn't say it's brand new, but it's relatively new compared to all these other things. It was very sophisticated to build. It took like over a year and a half to actually put it into beta. But now it's live. We have clients every week that are interested in this. I mean, the cool thing is, for a company, they really see the value of the 401k. They come and say, hey, we want Bitcoin payroll and we want Bitcoin 401k. And, we're slowly onboarding the 401k clients. But, I think that this is a brand new avenue for people. Obviously, I think that you shouldn't do 100% Bitcoin and 401k. You should have a mix because you might want to actually spend your Bitcoin gains before you retire. But when you're thinking about generational wealth, right, then it does make sense to have it in a 401k so that you don't pay any taxes on the gains if it's a Roth 401k when you retire. And we all think that could be a massive amount of gain from where it is now.
Yeah. No, I think that's really impactful because once people kind of get through the weeds of Bitcoin, their next big concern is now what do I do for taxes? So I think having Bitcoin 401k accounts is just going to make it way easier and especially probably a little more acceptable for older generations who are more used to, 401k or people who are just more used to that system, to see that in with Bitcoin integrated and kind of transition over to that. So yeah, I think that's really awesome. How many countries is BitWage currently working in?
So we're really not limited to where we can pay out. We have over 100 countries with users that we pay to. In terms of where we receive money, we have bank accounts in the US, in the Eurozone, in the UK. We also are able to receive money in Canadian dollar, Australian dollar, Japanese yen, and then we're paying out globally. To find out all of the different countries where we have local currency capabilities, you can go to bitwage.com/pricing and you can find it there.
Awesome. Sweet. So how did Bitwage get its name? I mean, I can assume, but obviously it's good to hear it from the horse's mouth.
How did Bitwage get its name? I mean, so when we were first starting, every single company was either a bit or a coin, right? Because you got to remember that we come from sort of the 2013, 2014 days. And back then, every single company was bit or coin in the name somewhere, either starting with it. So we took the bit, and because we were working with salaries and wages, you just added wage there, and we were lucky enough that no one had taken that, and I think it's a pretty self-explanatory name for what we do.
Yeah. No, it's good because it's just really obvious. Yeah. So what are your thoughts then on like the current fiat system and inflation and how that's affecting people today?
Yeah, I think that one interesting thing that people often ask about, and you said a little bit about this earlier, was taxes, right? What does it mean to have your wage paid in Bitcoin, and what's the tax relevancy of that? And you'll see where I'm going in a second. And what I always tell people is, you're still paying your income on the paycheck itself, and then when you sell it, there's gains, right? Capital gains, ultimately. And someone was coming to me and saying, "Hey, but why should I be paying gains when I'm spending my Bitcoin on something when I don't pay any gains or harvest any losses when I spend my dollars on something, when inflation's occurring and I should be getting to get access to losses there?" Or if the prices of goods go up against the dollar, I should be paying capital gains. And the way that I like to think about that is actually what's happening here is that the U.S. government is subsidizing the usage of dollars so that you continue to use dollars. But the reality is, if we zoom out way into the future, where Bitcoin is acting as a world reserve currency, and instead of it being extremely volatile, we're looking at a mature asset that is relatively stable and has a constant growth rate. And that constant growth rate is pretty much growing at the rate at which the dollar is inflating, plus the rate at which value is being created in society, right? And that's how the constant growth rate that Bitcoin has. And when you think about it like that, you realize that the amount of money that you're losing holding in dollars as the value of the dollar goes down is more than the capital gains that you're paying on the appreciation of Bitcoin, which is just absorbing all of that, right? Because it's just a small percentage of that. And when you think about today, what is happening right now, I mean, 25% of all of the dollars in circulation were generated last year, and even more being generated right now. And this is really what is starting the beginning of this bull cycle. It is, if you look at how much stock or real estate have increased. I think real estate increased, 15%, stocks increased like 30%. This was last year from the beginning to the end of the year. And you have 25% dollar increase, which is right in the middle there. You're seeing that what's actually happening is inflation is happening because your ability to buy assets is just getting obliterated right now. Your ability to own assets is getting obliterated. And people are looking at this and they're saying, well, where can I store my money? Where can I hold my money? And Bitcoin has become the answer, because Bitcoin is really the most liquid store of value that you can have. Because of its deflationary nature, because it is literally traded 24/7 anywhere in the world. If you need to get rid of Bitcoin for whatever reason, you can do it. There are Bitcoin debit cards and credit cards you can sell on exchange pretty easily. You can even trade it for goods and services. You can't do that with other assets. You can't do that with any other store of value. Try doing transactions with gold. It is way harder to buy things with gold and to transfer gold than it is with Bitcoin. So people are moving to Bitcoin, and it's causing the price to go up as people are thinking of this as a store of value. But what's happening today isn't unique. It's not like this is the first time we've seen the price of Bitcoin react to political, economic instability and inflation. And in fact, it's happening all around the world and has been happening for years. The 2017 bubble actually started in 2016. If you were part of the 2013 bubble, what happened was the price crashed, went to $1,000, and it crashed to around $200. And during that time period, we were looking at a price between, I think it was, 200 to 400. And the beginning of 2016, it's like, it went to 600, 700, 800, and everyone was going wild about this until, only in the beginning of 2017, I think it hit around $1,000. And what was happening during that time, when that price was slowly increasing, was China was actually having issues, having stability issues. The stock market was crashing, the economy was slowing down. So people in China were actually looking for ways to get out, and they found Bitcoin, right? Then again, later at the end of 2016, India demonetized their two largest bills in circulation, which was about 80% of the cash in circulation in India. Big country, major cash economy. There were terrible issues to convert that money. People were waiting in line for hours just to be able to have money to buy food. People were actually going to shops, and the shops would let people that they trust buy on credit. So they would literally just write the people's names down and what they bought and accept cash later. It was crazy what was going on. And the price of Bitcoin locally rose almost 40%. A similar thing was happening during the bear market in 2018 in Brazil, when the president of Brazil was basically kicked out of office for corruption. And at that time, the price of Bitcoin locally was spiking 40%. It was crazy. And we see this. The reason why we see this, the reason why I know this, is because our customers are in these countries. And when this happens, and they're doing services to people in the US, we're buying in the US and then we're selling in those countries for like 40% premium. So these people are literally getting 40% more of their paycheck during these times. It's wild. So we've been observing this for years, and that's why we know about this. And what's happening now is no different than what was happening then. The only difference is that it's happening to the dollar, right? And the dollar has always been sort of the traditional safe haven asset. And what we've seen, unlike what happened in 2008 during the financial crisis, where everyone went to the dollar and all the stocks and all the real estate crashed, there's a total opposite effect. Because of the inflation that's occurring right now, everything is moving away from the dollar. And trust in the dollar is really at an all-time low. This is why Bitcoin is doing so well right now. And maybe the dollar is going to recover. it might we I don't actually see the dollar going away, but what we're seeing now is that Bitcoin really does react as a store of value and a hedge against bad bad government policies, corrupt government policies, corrupt monetary policies, and inflation in general. And I think that Bitcoin is really leaving its mark as that right now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you described it wonderfully, and the way I always kind of looked at it was, since I've been earning a lot in crypto, it's kind of incentivized me to hold, whereas naturally you're incentivized to spend with fiat because you get the fiat and you know it's going to be worth less, or at least be able to buy less, in a year's time or however long, and then thus you're incentivized to spend it. Whereas I'm holding Bitcoin, I know if I hold it and I don't spend it, that it's going to probably go up in value over a long period of time. So naturally, you're incentivized to save money, and it's just better for you for personal finance. It just in general, it just kind of incentivizes good habits, and I think that's really powerful as well. So like, what is the current user base, and like how many companies are starting to actually use this and actually pay their employees with Bitcoin?
Yeah, so we have about 50,000 recipients on our
Wow.
platform, about 2,000 companies approved, and this is just growing. Our new user acquisition has gone up 100% since the same time last year. So this is really a defining moment, I think, for Bitcoin payroll. We recently in the news, there was a talk of Sequoia Holdings paying its employees in Bitcoin. That's us, and I really think that people are opening their eyes to this. Right? If you think about Bitcoin and its deflationary nature, right? Um, what actually happens is when more value is created in the world, each coin is going to be worth more. And this is important, especially important because, for the last couple decades, there's been a lot of value created in the economy, especially in the U.S. economy, but salaries have not gone up at the same rate, right? So you
Hmm.
have salaries going at a slower rate than the value that's being created in the economy. Sometimes not at all for a decade, and at the same time, the value of the dollar itself is going down and is being worth less. So you're actually just being paid less and less over time. But if you were to be
Hmm.
getting that pay in Bitcoin, right? When we get to it right now, I mean, Bitcoin has huge upside. But even after that huge upside is realized, if you're being paid in Bitcoin, you're just basically getting that additional value that's being generated by the system, right? By the entire economy, the new value that's being generated. Um, and I think that ends up making payroll more equitable and more fair. It's all, we're all crypto anarchists, but it's almost like Bitcoin is trying to be socialist, right? It's socializing the value of that's being created, but in a way where everyone is acting in their self interest. It's really cool.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of a beautiful merge of socialism and capitalism into what Bitcoin can provide for the world. And yeah, it's really just that next level of financial technology. So, what are some of the next big things that we should expect coming from Bitwage?
What are some of the next big things? I mean, I can't talk about them
Oh, fair
too
enough.
much, right? Outside the Bitcoin world, stablecoins are doing very well for us. So we are adding at least one more stablecoin. I can say that. Um,
Okay.
we uh, a lot of people have complained about the UX of our system in the past, and I want them to know that this is going to be totally redone. And I think that in the coming months, when that goes live, there'll be a big splash for that. So I'm really excited about having just a brand new, amazing system for people to interact with. But outside of that, there are some interesting things in the pipeline that I hope will make a big splash.
Awesome, awesome. And what's kind of the vision for the next few years? I guess like you don't have to give us any, updates or anything, but like where do you hope to be in the next, 3 to 5 years or so with BitWage?
Where do I hope to be? I mean, so we're pretty much the leaders in Bitcoin payroll. So when I think about where we want to be, I think about where do we want the state of Bitcoin payroll to be in the next few years, right? And I have this really strong belief that people right now, they dollar cost average their wealth into dollars in their bank account through their paycheck, and that this is what's going to become the standard for Bitcoin. That you're going to be dollar cost averaging your wealth through your paycheck in Bitcoin. That it's going to be your savings account, and that this is just going to be, what people want, what people have. That people are going to expect this as a benefit offering from their companies because people want to see the value of their wages increase over time, and this is one of the easiest ways the company can accomplish this without necessarily having to mess with their current cash flows, but instead offering their employees access to larger future cash flows. And this is what I'm thinking. Yeah, the Bitcoin.
Yeah, no, yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really powerful, vision of the future, and I think that's really interesting how the companies can then basically give more to their employees without actually having to give more. So yeah, I mean it's providing awesome solutions for everyone all around. So yeah, that's fantastic. And then do you see anyone else trying to do this in the space? Are you guys pretty much the only ones doing this kind of like crypto based payroll?
There are other companies in the space. None of them are doing as much payroll as us, and none of them are focused solely on payroll. So there are companies that have payroll products. Some of them focus on the companies. Some of them focus on the workers. We're the only like full product suite. We've got the 401k. We can work with companies. We can work with individuals. This is what we do. This is what we focus on. This is what we do best.
Awesome. I love it. All right. So where can everyone go to follow you? Where can they follow BitWage, and where can they learn more?
So you can follow me. I'm most active on Twitter and Clubhouse. So it's at John Chest and at Jonathan Chester on Clubhouse. I host very small, intimate rooms on Tuesdays, and I'm hoping to be hosting Bitcoin for Business rooms on Thursdays with the Master Bitcoin Club there.
Awesome.
For BitWage, I mean, if you want to sign up, it's www.bitwage.com. So check us out there.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on and explaining all this for everyone. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are watching this who are going to get started. I really encourage that they do, because this is an easy, simple way for people to really get that Bitcoin without having to worry too much about all the other stuff involved in that process. So again, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah. Thanks, Scott.
Awesome. All right. Cheers.